from a place where they handle it. Stay full of them blunts of that cannabis. If you trade to be gangster, you best have that banger, cause ones will come to examine it. When social media get you killed for posting reckless with no chill. When they open fire, it's no drill. Give you a wound that will never heal. An environment of that wickedness. Robbery, drug, and lasciviousness. When they come in your residence, take all your substance, kill you before they be penniless. Where the weak is usually who the victim is. Where that church is where the most pippin' is. From the moment we enter the matrix, good or evil, hard to tell what the difference is. Bad is good, dirty is clean. If you nice and weak, so you keep your mug on me. One wife, you lame as hell if you ain't got at least 3 on your team. You gotta hit these niggas before they hit you. You gotta get these niggas before they get you. Bust that thing, little nigga, bust that thing. Listen to me, you only live once. I come from a place where we just be sinning. Hit a lick, flip a brick, and we say we winning. Quick to do evil, but we ain't repenting. Now I'm on a mission for all white linen. All white linen. All white linen. All white linens. Now I'm on a mission for all white linen. All white linen. All white linens. Now I'm on a mission for all white. Everybody wants to be celebrities, so to be one we're committing felonies. Wouldn't listen to what mother was telling me, but I would buy the dreams the streets was selling me. Working, weed, cracking amphetamines, going everywhere Satan was sending me. Never wanted to be known as fake, so I was everything that they pretend to be. Mama would try to take me to church, I would duck off with the girls in the church, making holy things unholy. How could I be puffed up when I come from such dirt? I remember in prison I cried, not cause of fear, but I seen myself. But it took 11 years of progression and the highest truth for me to be myself. I was still thugging, I was still bucking, I was still hustling that dope, boy. I was still running, I was still ducking like Jonah did, yeah I know, boy. You gotta go get it, boy. Ain't nobody gonna give you nothing. Bible, what Bible? You better go get a pistol, nigga. You better go get one of them fine sisters, nigga. Put her to work. I come from a place where we just be sinning. Hit a lick, flip a brick, and we say we winning. Quick to do evil, but we ain't repenting. Now I'm on a mission for all white linen. All white linen. All white linen. All white linens. Now I'm on a mission for all white linen. All white linen. All white linens. Now I'm on a mission for all white. All white like Colonel Sanders, cause I put one to my slave master, cause I took his clothes and took his gold. And go tell my people like a broadcaster. I got a fishing net, I'm a broadcaster. I be trying to reel all my people in. I show that I'm dirty and I stubborn too, so ain't one that I'm better than. I don't walk around with my chest out, cause my Abba here let you cave it in. I walk around with my vest out to let the righteousness settle in. See, they treat a Judah like a publican, cause I still be eating with the publicans. If you healthy and he's healthy, then to whom is you giving medicine? See, sometimes I snap, boy, and sometimes I slide back, boy, but I make sure I get back, boy, cause the promise I know where it's at, boy. You're carnal, brother. You talk like you're still in the trap, brother. Clean up your speech. You need to show these brothers how perfect they need to be to walk with Christ. Why can't you do that? I come from a place where we just be sinning. Hit a lick, flip a brick, and we say we winning. Quick to do evil, but we ain't repenting. Now I'm on a mission for all white linen. All white linen. All white linen. All white linens. Now I'm on a mission for all white linen. All white linen. All white linens. Now I'm on a mission for all white.
Yo, Shalom family. I welcome everyone to another installment of Clear Eyes, No VISINE. We are still in the book of Remembrance of Enoch. Week by week, we are steady searching out the ancient past. Last discussion, Enoch's mother Baraka led him to the Urim and Thummim. That was after most of the Lamb, which is Christ, told her where to find it. Today we are reading about Enoch using the Urim for the first time and the things he saw. Today is part 1 of the 2 religions of the world. In this part, we will be dealing with the origins of sorcery. In order to do this, we will be diving into the Cain and Abel accounts, or Keneh and Mattaniah, which is what their true birth names were, right? We will be tying some of our previous discussions together to get a full understanding. Man, look, y'all mash on the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit the bell so you can be notified when we are back on here. Hitting the like button, that's free. Subscribing, yeah, that's also free. And hitting the bell, yeah, no charge. So show love and at least do those things to support the channel. You dig? Also, these books, family, I urge everyone to get these books. Encourage your family and friends to get these books. We have a link to all these books at RealJudah.com. The Books of Remembrance series. Powerful information, family. So, before we get started, baby, Revelations 3 and 18. Read that.
I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear. And anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see.
Anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. Clear eyes, no VISINE, family. Let's get started. Today, we are back in the book Remembrance of Enoch. We are in the beginning of chapter 3. We are starting at verse 1. Beautiful Ari, let's read.
And it came to pass that Enoch and his mother slowly made their way back toward ENOCHpt amidst the seas of grass of the land of Anak.
Remember, family, in our last discussion, Baraka, Enoch's mama, took him to her hometown to find the Urim and Thummim. They are now headed back to their side of things in Anak. Verse 2, read.
Now the Lord had instructed Baraka that Enoch should take the Urim unto his bosom, and because of this she prepared for him a pocket that would allow him to carry it under his garments over his heart. And as they went, only God knew the meaning of that which was about to take place in the lives of men upon the earth, because Enoch now possessed the Urim. And the wicked, together with their 1/3 of those who fell from heaven, knew nothing of the meaning of it, and none among the Erkadeshi could comprehend the forces of truth that would be sent forth by the stones of Ebedel. And the righteous and even the earth saw this day to be a day like all others, but with this lad and his Urim would go the course of all mankind, and soon the Erkadeshi would come to know that great changes were afoot among all the objects of creation, and the watchers of heaven themselves would see changes and division come upon them.
The significance of Enoch getting the Urim and Thummim was a mystery to all of creation. The Erkadeshi, or the Holy Watchers, didn't understand the significance. The Decadarchi, or the Fallen Watchers, didn't understand the significance. The righteous men and women of the earth didn't understand the significance. But with this lad, this youngster, and his Urim, with Enoch and his Urim, would go the whole course of the earth. I'll read the end of verse 4 again.
And soon the Erkadeshi would come to know that great changes were afoot among all the objects of creation, and the watchers of heaven themselves would see changes and division come upon them.
Read.
And it shall be seen that even the Lord God, as he is subject to the effects of the agency of man in his experience of joy or sorrow, would in the end be influenced by the stones of Ebedel called Urim, that were being carried in the bosom of his little son Enoch.
How we use our agency Our agency is our freedom to choose what we do with our lives. How we use our agency affects the Most High. It either brings him joy or sorrow. Therefore, these rocks, these stones of Ebedel, this Urim, would greatly affect the feelings of the Most High. Verse 6. Read.
And when they arrived home, they found Ahayah fasting in prayer for their safe return. And the Lord had given him a dream of instruction with regard to the use of discretion with the truth. And they told no man of the events which transpired in obtaining the Urim. Neither did they talk of the Urim and the instructions of the Lord concerning it openly among their fellows. And Enoch contemplated all of these things in his heart.
The use of discretion the Lord gave Enoch's father, Ahayah, right? He gave him game on discretion. Y'all remember in our last discussion, YASHAYA gave Enoch's father a new name. He changed his name from Jared to Ahayah. So the Lord gave Enoch's father Ahayah a dream telling him to have discretion with the truth. Everyone ain't need to know about the Urim Enoch had. We have to remember, family, we don't need to speak on everything the Father gives us or tells us or shows us. Sometimes we talk too much. We give too much information to the enemy. So sometimes discretion with the truth is necessary. This understanding was new to Enoch also and made him really think. Verse 7, let's keep reading.
And it came to pass that the life of Enoch was blessed by his parents, and their effect in his life were complete, and he received full benefit from both the mother and the father. For Ahayah taught Enoch to love the Kadeshi and all the hosts of the living souls which God had created upon the earth, among both man and the watchers.
Remember, family, the Kadeshi are the holy watchers. Creation, the rocks, the trees, the grass, the clouds. Enoch's father, Ahayah, taught Enoch to love creation, right? He had a mother and a father, right? We got to remember that when we're bringing our seeds into the world. We're bringing our kings into the world, our queens into the world. There's benefits from having both in their life, right? No matter what we came up in, right? We don't got to pass that same thing on to our little ones. So watch, we're going to see the benefit. So his father taught him to love creation, right? Creation is alive, family. Y'all see that? Verse 8, read.
And Baraka taught Enoch to love the Lord God with all of his heart and soul. And Ahayah taught him the use of element of righteousness.
So his mama, Baraka, taught him to love the Most High, to love God with all his heart and his soul. And his father, Ahayah, taught him the use of the element of righteousness, right? The use of the element of righteousness. Remember, Kavah used the bulrushes to protect Enoch during his birth. We read that in our last discussion, right? We learned that bulrushes are an element of righteousness that protects the righteous from witchcraft, right? So his father was teaching him these things. I'll read, start verse 9 over.
And Ahayah taught him the use of the element of righteousness and all the precautions and the care needed to walk in holiness of heart before God in the midst of the earth. And Baraka taught him to listen to find the meaning of the presence of life that is in each and everything in creation.
Enoch's mother taught him to listen to find the meaning of the presence of life that is in each and every little living thing in creation, right? When YASHAYA, which is Adam, named everything, he was defining whatever he named. Like horses feel obedience. Dogs feel loyalty. Every living thing has a definition, a different form of the Lord's love. And when you look at Hebrew, when you pay attention, you look at these words, like the almond tree, we're going to see that a little later on. It has something to do with its definition, the name of it. So the Hebrew was like a language of feeling or air. We're going to get to that. Start verse 10 over, read.
And Baraka taught him to listen, to find the meaning of the presence of life that is in each and everything in creation together with God and man, And by these things the Lord brought Enoch the gift of discerning of spirits.
Because of these things his parents taught him, the Lord gave Enoch the gift of discerning spirits. These are the things we need to learn. We need to teach our children. We need to learn how to love the ReMEMBRANCE, how to love the Most High, how to use righteous element, how to listen to find the meaning of the presence of life in all of creation, truly understanding and knowing our ecosystem, the first foundation of Shabuah. Verse 11, read.
And it came to pass that Enoch grew in his stature before God and man, and he was a goodly young man, and he was filled with devotion to God, and he sought earnestly to accomplish all things concerning the will of God for him. And it came to pass that by the hand of his mother, Enoch learned how to worship the living God, and from her soul issue forth principles of worship for the righteous, that will always be found upon the earth among every generation of the righteous.
Two of those principles is standing during prayer to ask the Father for a blessing, and kneeling during prayer to give the Most High a blessing. Baraka was a powerful sister. We'll read more about her today, for real, for real. Verse 13, read.
And it was commonly said of him by his fellows that all creation would give heed and pay attention to the petitions of Enoch.
And we will see evidence of that all through this series. Verse 14.
And also the righteousness of Enoch abounded, because Mahujah his father was skilled in it more than any man since YASHAYA. And the habits of the solitude of Mahujah that were once a part of his sin became of great value to Enoch, as he made his way in discovering how to choose the ways of God.
Sometimes the lessons we learn during our days as sinners can help us and help us teach others in our days of righteousness, right? We are called to be a living sacrifice so that we can become a living testimony. Real talk. Verse 15.
And like his father, Enoch began to be viewed as a wild man by those who did not know him.
John the Baptist was considered a wild man. Achi was considered a wild man. Why? Because these men were okay with dwelling with creation. And what the world calls civilized is when one disconnects from creation and begins to deal with modern inventions and ways. Verse 16.
And it can be seen that it was the disdain his father had for the modern ways of his fellows that compelled him to be so intent upon the ways of the hunt.
Boom, y'all see that? Baby, read that again.
And it can be seen that it was the disdain his father had for the modern ways of his fellows that compelled him to be so intent upon the ways of the hunt.
Mahujah, Enoch's father, did not like what the world was coming to way back then. This is what influenced him to be a man focused on hunting, always gone from the house. Interesting. Verse 17.
But Mahujah repented and followed the desires of the Lord for him, and he gave up his own desires for those of God.
Mahujah repented and gave up his own desires for the desires of God. If our desires are getting in the way of the Most High's desires, we have to repent and choose the Father every time. Verse 18.
And it came to pass that Enoch prepared himself with all diligence to use the Urim. And the space of 4 years went by in his preparations, and he would look with Urim from time to time and receive instructions from the Lord in the use of it.
Enoch prepared for a time period of 4 years to use the Urim. This is how careful Enoch was. During that time, he would look with Urim to receive instruction on his usage, right? Enoch was very obedient to the Most High, focused on doing the will of the Father, not his own will. Y'all see that? Verse 19.
And in his preparations, Enoch had been instructed that when using the Urim, he was to see that he must not touch the Urim, for nothing could touch it that had sin, but it had to be held by something that only felt perfection, for it to work as the Lord intended. And Enoch knew that the ReMEMBRANCE had no sin, and one of them could hold it for him. So he determined that he would place the Urim upon a staff of an almond tree, and the almond tree is given life by the spirit of the presence of Messiah, which feels being ever watchful for the things of God.
Okay, interesting. So one of the instructions that Enoch had received was he can't touch the Urim, right? It can't be touched by anything that has sin in it, right? And we have learned in times past, and we're hearing and reading here again today, that the ReMEMBRANCE had no sin. They were perfect, right? The creation is perfect, not the Decadarchi who fell away from their intended ways, right? But the ReMEMBRANCE, the holy watchers, they perfect. So Enoch, using his wisdom that we see he been displaying, right? He said, whoa, if I can't touch it, I can use one of the ReMEMBRANCE to touch it, and he chose the almond tree, right? Because of what it feels. And that's what I was talking about just a little minute ago, right? In the Hebrew, that language was showing you, they created a language about how things felt, right? It's a language of feeling, right? So the almond tree feels being ever watchful for the things of God, right? Let's see if we can prove that using the concordance. Watch this. We're going to H8247. H8247. Shakade. It comes from H8245. The almond tree. Tree or nut as being the earliest in bloom. Almond tree. Okay, so that came from H245. So let's get that. Shakad, a primitive root, to be alert. You see that? To be alert, i.e. sleepless, hence to be on the lookout, whether for good or ill. Hasten, remain, wake, watch for. You see that? To watch for. The Hebrew language and the Aramaic language usually expresses the spiritual meaning of the element it's speaking about, right? So y'all remember that, because we're going to be going deeper and deeper into these Hebrew words, because what we learning over here at RealJudah is that the mysteries lay within the names, the Hebrew and the Aramaic names, right? But that's just a hint. We're going to keep going deeper and deeper as the weeks go by, right? Let's keep going. Verse 21, read.
And the Lord told him that it would be best if he would fasten it upon a staff with a twisted reed called the Ahayah reed, which is known as papyrus. And it is given life by the presence of Messiah that feels, discovering the truth and to make it bare before you.
Again, they gave us another name. It's called the Ahayah reed, right? And it said that it's given life by the presence of Messiah that feels, discovering the truth. You understand? Y'all see the elements that Enoch is using. Is he not just picking stuff to hook this Urim to? He picked the almond tree because it's watching to help you see, right? And he's picking this Ahayah reed for discovering the truth, right? Which prove it. Let's see if we can prove it with the concordance. We're going to go to H6169. Y'all write this down. Y'all check this. You know the scriptures say prove all things and hold fast to what's good. And that's what we're trying to come with out here. We ain't just trying to be kicking something new. We ain't special. Like we ain't, hey, the Father dealing with us, yes, but we listening, we learning, and we proving these things. You understand? H6169. Ahayah. It's feminine from H6168. A naked, i.e. level plot. Paper, reed. So there goes, it says paper, reed. A naked plot. But watch this. Remember it said it means to discover the truth? Right, a naked plot. Naked means bare. Okay, you know, you see the inside, right? Okay, a paper reed. That sounds like a papyrus, right? Okay, it said it comes from H6168. Let's get that, right? Ahayah. A primitive root, to be causatively make bare. Look at that. Hence, to empty, pour out, demolish, leave destitute, discover. Look at that. Empty, make naked, pour out, raise, spread, self, uncover. We are proving what we are getting in these books by even looking at the language, right? It's Ahayah reed for discovering the truth, making bare. It said, and to make it bare before you. That's what it said, right? All praises. We'll start verse 21 over so we can prove that.
And the Lord told him that it would be best if he would fasten it upon a staff with a twisted reed called the Ahayah reed, which is known as papyrus. And it is given life by the presence of Messiah that feels, discovering the truth and to make it bare before you. And these things are very powerful elements of righteousness before the God of heaven.
To make it bare before you. Look, so the almond tree and the Arari are also powerful elements of righteousness. How did Enoch know that? His father taught him that. Mahujah, right? Powerful. Witches and warlocks are not the only ones who use the elements of the earth, y'all. They misuse creation. The righteous use creation in the rightful way, right? That is the definition of righteousness. Using creation in the righteous and the right way, right? Verse 22, read.
And thus when all things were in order and the Lord was telling him to go, and see, Enoch went and received the blessing of his father before the light of day.
Enoch was young when he first truly went to go use the Urim. Even though the Lord told him go, he still went to receive permission from his earthly father. Very good little boy, huh? Verse 23.
And he went alone to his place of prayer on the land of the brook of ENOCHpt5. And it was on the day of the new year, but Enoch knew it not.
It was the day of the new year, but Enoch knew it not. Remember, we talked about that last time. He hadn't been taught the calendar yet. That's why he ain't know it was the New Year's Day, huh? Because Enoch is the one who brought said calendar out. Start verse 23 over.
And he went alone to his place of prayer on the land in the brook of ENOCHpt5. And it was on the day of the new year, but Enoch knew it not. And he took the Urim and his staff of almond wood, which was to be his thummim. And it was the first thummim upon the earth. And it is the wood from which all thummim have been made by the descendants of Sha'ari.
We will read about Sha'ari in the future. Do y'all know who the descendants of Sha'ari is? Sha'ari, and I think it's in the Greek and in the Bible it's called Arphaxad, right? Go see what people came from him. They had Urims too, right? We will get to that in our Order of Melchizedek series, man. Let's keep it pushing. Verse 24.
And it came to pass that when Enoch arrived, he prayed earnest prayers to God, and he placed his staff into the soft ground, and he tied the Urim upon it. And thus when the first rays of the sun for the new year fell upon the land, they shone forth upon the Urim, and the eyes of Enoch entered into the midst of the 3 tongues of fire in the presence of God. And Enoch said, O Lord God, please may I see the doings of those who lived in ancient times, so that I may come to understanding. And it may come to pass that it came to pass that Enoch beheld all the doings of men from ancient times until his own day through the eyes of God. And that which he saw brought him great understanding, and he beheld things that in his heart he did not know. And he was taught by the watchers who are called Ebedel and Kabodiel and Rekatzel, but he did not know their true names.
Ebedel represents the rocks, Kabodiel represents the trees, and Rekatzel represents the grass. Creation is alive, family. These are the watchers who was teaching Enoch powerful things, right? And this is powerful. Read.
And he saw the conditions among those of old time when mankind first left Eden and began to multiply and spread themselves out upon the earth. And he saw that in the beginning, even after Canaan killed Metaniah his brother, whom Canaan named Abel, that all the people were of a mild and quiet and of a patient nature. And all the people were this way, so even were the wicked. For this was all any man knew, from the example of their old father YASHAYA.
Everyone was patient, mild, and quiet, even the wicked. That's how YASHAYA was, huh? Let's keep reading, verse 29.
And mildness and quietness and patience were so much a part of the created nature of man that it took many years for sin to change it. And Enoch saw that it was after this manner until the days of Lamech, the 7th from YASHAYA through Canaan. And even in their wickedness, no man was ruled before the God of heaven.
Lamech was a trendsetter. Do y'all remember the origins of polygamy discussion? Y'all remember that? Lamech was straight rude to YASHAYA. After Lamech kidnapped Ahayah, Naom's wife, right? Nobody was really disrespectful like that until Lamech. Dude was wicked, for real. Verse 31.
And it was not until the days of Lamech that men became rude with their violence and loud noises and impatient acts. And when Enoch beheld these things, he was amazed, for all he had ever known among the wicked was boisterous disregard for the need of reverence in the sight of God. And Enoch became awakened to a knowledge of his forefathers, and he saw how quick the wicked were to follow after the ways of Lamech.
Remember, Lamech was 7 generations from Adam. He was just from Connect or Cain's side, right? Cain's lineage. And Enoch is also 7 generations from Adam. So Lamech wasn't born too much before Enoch. But all Enoch knew about was the wicked being loud, rowdy, and disrespectful towards the Most High. That's all he knew. After 7 generations of the world being mild, quiet, and patient, even the wicked, in less than a generation, Lamech has influenced the wicked to be a whole different way. Y'all see that? Yeah, Enoch was surprised. He like, yo, everyone was mild and cool, but now all I see these wicked folk just be crazy out here. You know what I'm saying? Verse 32, read.
And it came to pass that Enoch saw that before Lamech there was no man lifting up his hand to shed blood. And the murder performed by Canaan against his brother Metaniah was accomplished without the shedding of blood, for it was a stone of Ahayah that hit Metaniah in his forehead when he was tending his sheep in the valley of Simcha.
For it was a stone of Ahayah that hit Metaniah. Remember, family, Metaniah was who the Bible calls Abel, and Canaan was Cain. Watch this. Let's go deeper into the accounts of Cain and Abel, or Metaniah and Canaan, right? Let's go to different precepts to read the account and get understanding on the origin of witchcraft and sorcery. Now understand, family, Semihaza, who is Satan, can do nothing without the help of others. He must influence ones to do acts that will in the long run hurt their own selves, right? That's why Satan is the ultimate deceiver. We're going to go to 1 chapter 1, verse 34. Let's read that.
And it came to pass that in the course of time there arose up one who empowered Semihaza to fully be the opponent of God, and to have power to wage war against his purposes, and that man was Cain.
And that man was Cain. We know from the other books, Cain's name was Canaan, and Abel's name was Metaniah. But in the book of Achi, right, Cain and Abel was used. Why? Okay, watch this. Well, the books of Achi were the first books Goku III interpreted using Urim. So the Lord met him where he was at. So that's why we hear Cain and Abel when we read Achi. Start verse 34 over, baby.
And it came to pass that in the course of time there arose up one who empowered Semihaza to fully be the opponent of God, and to have power to wage war against his purposes, and that man was Cain. And while the sins of our first parents were inadvertent, the sins of Cain were the intervention of his agency to establish and call forth by the use of the element of wickedness that Semihaza would be the god of his religion in the occult.
Cain used his agency to establish Semihaza as a god of his religion in the occult. What kind of occult? Let's read.
And Cain ruled over Semihaza, and they entered into a pact in sorcery.
In sorcery. This is Cain. Before he killed Metaniah, who was Abel, right? Semihaza was pushing sorcery from the beginning. Read that again.
And Cain ruled over Semihaza, and they entered into a pact in sorcery that Cain would establish Semihaza if he could gain the desires of his heart over his brother Abel. And it came to pass that Ahayah, who is one of the Decadarchi, and is inscribed 10th by his cunning, opened up to Cain the manner by which it could be accomplished, that he could kill his brother without drawing near to him. And thus the thing would not be known, and the guilt of Cain would not come forth, and the thing would be kept secret in the midst of the earth. And it came to pass that Cain prayed evil and hateful prayers, and he used the altar of his father.
Wow. The altar of Ariel. Woo. He used the altar of his father. Blasphemous. Amazing. Read.
And he used Ahayah as the element of wickedness to call forth death unto Abel. And it came to pass that a stone smote Ahayah, that a stone of Ahayah smote Abel, insomuch that he died. And Cain had not come near unto Abel, and had done nothing but to pray his hateful prayers against him. And a falling star fell upon Abel, and smote him, and he died. And Cain knew he could say the thing had occurred, but not by his hand.
Y'all see that? That's what we just read in Enoch. Kenet, or Cain, did not physically kill Mattaniah, who was Abel, with his bare hands, but he killed him through sorcery, so he could deny it. Verse 38.
But Semeiazzah had deceived Cain, for he had not revealed unto Cain that the thing could not be hidden from God. And Cain was called to account before him.
Semeiazzah deceived Kenet. What else he do? Remember, family, Satan is the ultimate deceiver. What else he gonna do? We can't hide from the Most High though. Y'all see that? Verse 39.
And thus it was established by the intervention of agency that Semeiazzah and his religion would be enemies to all things good and the worship of God in heaven. And in the end, as Cain had killed with the rock, he was also killed by a rock, when the earth shook and his house fell upon him. And this event happened in the year that Adam returned to Eden, and the shaking of the earth was caused by the Er Kadeshi and their rejoicing over the return of Adam to his natural home.
What goes around comes around, my Judah. So Kenet, again, which is Cain, was taken out the same way he took out Mattaniah, which is Abel. Rocks fell on him. Verse 40, read.
And it came to pass that the war increased and it grew, as there were many evil men who put their hand to the task of affirming the lying visions of Semeiazzah and his band. And it grew until Semeiazzah took with him 1/3 of the host of heaven, even to the number of 200 watchers who rebelled to follow after him.
1/3 of the angels fell away, right? Verse 41.
And it came to pass that one arose who was a descendant of Cain, whose name was Lamech, which means to be instructed by darkness. And Lamech received instructions by the hand of the Decadarchi, starting with Semeiazzah himself. And Semeiazzah desired to beget children. And he chose Lamech, for Lamech had 2 wives. And he followed after the manner of the religion of Cain.
Ooh. Remember, we read about Lamech in our origins of polygamy. And now we're reading about Lamech in our origins of sorcery discussion, right? Lamech had 2 wives, and he followed after the religion of Cain. What religion? Sorcery, right? The 2 religions of the earth. We got a righteous one and a wicked one. YASHAYA religion, which is Shabuah, and Kenet's religion, or Cain's religion, which is sorcery. Let's read that last line again.
And he chose Lamech, for Lamech had 2 wives, and he followed after the manner of the religion of Cain. And he was the first to enter into the wickedness of having more than 1 wife. And Semeiazzah instructed Lamech that he, by the use of the element of wickedness, and by using a meteorite, and by drinking menstrual blood, could conceive a child that was given by the power of the intervention of his agency, a lying vision according to the choosing of Semeiazzah.
Look at that. Drinking menstrual blood. Sorcery. We are tying everything together today through the grace of the Most High. Using polygamy and sorcery, the Nephilim were created, Well, you know them women in the boot in Louisiana, y'all heard about that, not to eat the spaghetti, because they be putting that menstrual blood, that's considered witchcraft, ain't it? Well, look, that's what Lamech was doing in order to help Nephilim come through. Witchcraft. Verse 42.
And it came to pass that Lamech entered into a pact with Semeiazzah.
He did what?
Lamech entered into a pact with Semeiazzah.
The same thing Kenet or Cain did, right? Made a deal with the devil. Ari, read that again.
Lamech entered into a pact with Semeiazzah, and he performed and practiced, and a child indeed was conceived that was evil by its nature, and had the vision of wickedness that was given him by Semeiazzah.
Lamech performed and practiced. Witchcraft, Okay, let's get a precept to the account in the book, to this account right here in the book of Remembrance of Melchizedek. We're gonna leave that account of Cain and Abel alone in YASHAYA. We're gonna go to the book of Remembrance of Melchizedek. What we doing? We are currently learning the origins of sorcery. It goes back to Cain and Abel, huh? Cain used sorcery to kill his brother. Alright, so we are now in the book of Remembrance of Melchizedek, chapter 4. Let's start at verse 23. Right here, watch this, y'all. A holy watcher is speaking to us, right? Her name is Ahayah. She represents the dew. So we're gonna get this account from the Eric Kadeshi's point of view this time, right? Verse 23.
And it came to pass that with the passing time, the people began to multiply, and only YASHAYA and Kavah had ever known the sounds of death that were brought to Eden by bad.
Bad is another name for Satan. Start verse 23 over.
And it came to pass that with the passing time, the people began to multiply, and only YASHAYA and Kavah had ever known the sounds of death that were brought to Eden by bad. But into the world came Canaan, whose name is called Cain by the Decadarshi, which name means to attack by chanting.
So that's some more new information, ain't it? The way the name Cain, or the way the name Cain came about was through the Decadarshi, the fallen watchers. Huh? We are also told Cain means to attack by chanting. Let's look at that in the Hebrew and see if we can verify. We're going to go to H6969. Let's see. Cain, right? Cain. Well, that comes from H6969 in the original sense of fixity, a lance, a striking fast, spear. Right? So y'all give me 1 second. Let me get that in the Hebrew so y'all can get that concordance. Cause that one came, this word, okay, y'all hold tight real quick. Okay, watch this. So that word, what we just read, Cain, is H7013. That's Cain. And you can look at H7014, right? And it said they come from H6969 in the original sense of fixity, a lance, a striking fast, right? So then we're gonna go to H6969, and it's kum. That's how you say that one. A primitive root to strike a musical note, i.e., chant or wail. At a funeral, lament, mourning women. So Cain means to strike, and that Hebrew word also links back to chanting, right? Even the type of music we'll listen to, make sure you are chanting righteous things, y'all. We gonna have a quick fix on that, on music and chanting and stuff. But see, yeah, Cain leans back to striking quick while chanting, right? Interesting. Okay, we are back in the book of Remembrance of Melchizedek, chapter 4. Let's finish off verse 23. Read.
But into the world came Canaan, whose name is called Cain by the Decadarshi, which means to attack by chanting, and he would listen to sounds that others choose to ignore. And those sounds were like whispering dark sentences. And he learned from those voices how to strike out rapidly and chant the sounds of death that were filled with hate and violence. And he chanted with clenched teeth, and everyone was alarmed because he was doing such a strange thing. And the sounds he made put chills into our souls, and we were afraid. And some of us thought that only someone born in Eden could know the meaning of it. And these new sounds were the sounds of death that had come from Senecio, even at this early time in the course of the earth. And it came to pass that it was this first expression of sorcery that caused a meteorite to fall from the sky in broad daylight.
Y'all hear that? Cain killing Adonijah, Cain killing Abel was the first expression of sorcery. Verse 24.
And it came to pass that it was this first expression of sorcery that caused the meteorite to fall from the sky in broad daylight. And it struck Mattaniah in his head, and he fell down and died. And ENOCHpt5 knew that all sorcery.
Most sorcery?
All sorcery.
Oh, except the sorcery Solomon did.
All sorcery.
All sorcery is what?
All sorcery is a direct assault upon him and all his longings for his children.
Listen, y'all. This is an Ahayah. This is a fallen watcher speaking to us. Right? I said a fallen one, excuse me. And Eric Kadeshi, a holy watcher, speaking to us, right? And watch what she said. When one practices sorcery, the Most High looks at it as a direct assault upon him. Wow. And his hopes for his children. Repent, family. Repent if you are working any type of witchcraft. For real, for real. Watch this. So let's go back to the book of remembrance of Enoch. We're back in chapter 3. So we watch what we did. We went to Achi. We read the account of Cain and Abel. We went to the book of remembrance of Melchizedek. We read the account of Cain and Abel. We wanted to get every perspective that we can get. Now we're going to go back to Enoch, right? In chapter 3. We're going to look at what Enoch got from the same account, right? Let's go to verse 32. I think that's where we stopped at. Enoch chapter 3, verse 32. Read. It's chapter 3, verse 32. Read.
And it came to pass that Enoch saw that before Lamech there was no man lifting up his hand to shed blood. And the murder performed by Canaan against his brother Mattaniah was accomplished without the shedding of blood, for it was a stone of Asael that hit Mattaniah in his forehead when he was tending his sheep in the valley of Simcha. And Canaan did not have to raise his hand against his brother to perform it, but it was done because he was jealous of his brother, in his desires for Sephi, the wife of his brother. And thus he corrupted his marriage insomuch that he was able to enter into a covenant with Semeiazzah. And he learned in what manner to perform it from him. And it was all to be done in secret. And Canaan said, now I am the master of secret devices, because I know the way to accomplish it. And Canaan performed the murder with hateful chantings and doleful murmurings, and with the wicked desires which he applied to his prayers. And Canaan had been deceived by the evil one into believing the thoughts of his heart, and the sounds of his lips that were done in secret could not be known. And he was told that when Mattaniah was killed, he would be thought to have no part in it, seeing he was not near at the time.
Semeiazzah sold him a straight dream. Y'all see that? Verse 36.
And Canaan expected that it would all go well for him, and his acts would not become discovered because of the covenant administered to him by Semeiazzah and Asael. And all of this was done in secret, so Canaan could obtain the wife of Mattaniah. And in the end, he would have her twin sister also. But God knew, for he sees all things.
Read that again.
But God knew, for he sees all things. And he was discovered in his wickedness, and he was called to account. And the Lord God told him that a cursing would come upon his seed after him.
But God knew, for he sees all things, right? Why would there be a cursing? Because people in his lineage, him being Cain or Canaan, would follow his example, like Lamech did. And they would do much worse, right? Read.
And he fled to the northwest of the land of Toah, in the regions of Heliah. And he came to the brook Hales, and the name Heliah means to be very remote, and removed beyond the horizon. And because of this, his children found themselves in the midst of the floods that would come.
So because Canaan, his deeds were exposed, he had to move around. You know, nobody wanted to be around him. When you read the aftermath to this account in the book of grandmothers, you find out that YASHAYA and Kavah had more children when this happened. So Canaan and Mattaniah were not the only ones they had, right? When he killed his brother Mattaniah, right? Or when Cain killed Abel, there was more children. So you know ones was uncomfortable being around Canaan, for real. He just took out his brother. On top of that, no one had ever seen death at that time. Even the Kadeshi, the Holy Watchers, they were confused. Y'all heard of Ahayah, who represents the dew? The Holy Watchers were wondering why he ain't get up. Remember, family, I ask everyone who is following us through these accounts to start this series from the beginning if this is your first time tuning in. Second, I ask everyone to become a fool first. Let's get that precept. We're going to go to the Bible. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18. Let's hear what Brother Paul had to say. Read.
Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool that he may be wise.
Paul said we should not deceive ourselves. We know nothing as we ought to know it. Be humble and let your spirit guide you, not man. If you can't do that, you are highly susceptible to being taken down the wrong path. It's highly likely somebody can teach you the wrong thing. Try everything by the Spirit, right? So Cain fled to Ahayah. Ahayah means to be very remote and removed beyond the horizon, He went far, far away, right? And because of this move, his children will be caught up in the flood. Interesting, right? Verse 39, read.
And the curse was that Canaan and all who sprang from him would not repent, would be swept off of the earth, leaving no remnant forever.
That's what the flood did, right? Verse 40.
And when Canaan was named by his parents upon his birth, it was in reference to a reed, and his name meant to own or create, and it meant to save or redeem.
Let's get that in the concordance, right? Let's get that. Kana, right? Kana, a primitive root to erect, i.e. create, by extension to procure, especially by purchase, causatively sell, by implication to own, attain, buyer, teach, to keep cattle, get, provoke to jealousy, possess, or purchase, recover, redeem, surely, verily. So that right there, that was H7070, and you can go to H7069 to get that Kana or Canaan, right? Back to Enoch. So we're gonna start verse 40 over. Read.
And when Canaan was named by his parents upon his birth, it was in reference to a reed, and his name meant to own or create, and it meant to save or redeem. And Enoch saw that Motsor the Decadent named him Cain, which means to strike swiftly, and to chant doleful sounds in relation to death.
We got that concordance early in the concordance, right? First off, Motsor the Decadent, that's another name for Satan, right? But we saw what Cain meant. You can go to H7013, which comes from H6969, right? We read that earlier. Let's keep reading, verse 41.
And thus Enoch beheld that since ancient times, names of people and places were changed from their first delightful meaning according to the sinful doings of those associated with them. And this custom persists throughout the earth to this day with righteous people who keep the sacredness of holy language.
Y'all hear that? So somebody's name can mean one thing, right? But because of how they act, it can change the meaning of their name, right? So, and people get new names because of how they act also. And that's what we saw with Enoch's father, Jared, right? We also saw in our discussion concerning the origins of polygamy, Ada, Lamech's second wife, right? The one he stole from Naomi on their wedding day. Her name, Ada, it can't be her name. Look that up in the concordance. Who would name their daughter that, right? Names were changed due to the sinful doings of people and the people associated with them. Or people were given new names that represented their character or their situation, right? We're going to see more evidence of that today. Watch, verse 42, read.
And it came to pass that Enoch beheld, starting with the 7th generation, that there began to be a complete separation between the righteous and the wicked. And this commenced at this time because God told YASHAYA that he would no longer be a father to the wicked.
Remember, the first great division, this was both the spiritual and physical division. This was why Enoch would be able to establish Zion, because there was a complete separation amongst the righteous and the wicked. It's going to be the same in these last days, family. Start verse 42 over.
And it came to pass that Enoch beheld, starting with the 7th generation, that there began to be a complete separation between the righteous and the wicked. And this commenced at this time because God told YASHAYA that he would no longer be a father to the wicked, but they had chosen their father, who is Canaan. And you will see that before the flood, all the wicked of the earth followed their father to possess all of the regions of Ahayah where the flood came.
All of the regions of Ahayah where the flood came. Where the flood came. Y'all let that marinate. Verse 43.
And it came to pass that Enoch said, Lord, show me these things, for I desire to know how this great division came into being. And I want to understand this great mystery, for it is the desire of my heart. And Enoch stood looking with and he saw Lamech digging in order to bring water to the plants that fed him. And he was fat and unkept and lazy. And in the beginning, the name Lamech meant the one who is righteous, for he cooks without a fire pot.
So Lamech once had a righteous meaning to his name. You see that? But he was so wicked, they changed the meaning of his name. Boy, that's cold. But that's what we saying. That's what they were saying earlier. Names in ancient times could be changed by someone's actions, right? The meaning of it. Verse 45.
And while he was digging, he discovered a small stone like a melon, and it was very heavy. And he held the stone, and he wondered why it was so heavy. And it was a stone of Ahayah.
A stone of Ahayah. Remember, we learned in the account of Cain and Abel, or Kenet and Mattaniah, a stone of Ahayah is a meteorite. Ahayah is a meteorite like Semi-Haza. Let's read verse 46.
And when he held it, the feelings of Ahayah in his presence came in upon Lamech heavily. And the spirit of Ahayah drew near, and he said to Lamech, dash it upon a stone.
And
Lamech obeyed the voice that he heard, and he lifted the stone up high, and he dashed it upon a stone.
That was the first instruction Lamech obeyed from Ahayah. In our last discussion, we read how Enoch severed himself with the Urim. We will have a discussion soon concerning 70 and the power of 70, right? Let's keep reading though.
And Ahayah drew near, and he said to Lamech, dash it upon a stone. And Lamech obeyed the voice that he heard, and he lifted the stone up high, and he dashed it upon a stone. And when he did so, a crust of stone broke away from covering it, and inside he could see a lump of metal, and parts of it shone forth in the light of the sun. And Ahayah said, cast it into the fire. And again Lamech obeyed the voice of Ahayah, and he cast it into the fire, and he made the fire very hot.
And again Lamech obeyed the voice of Ahayah. That's 2. Let's keep reading, verse 48.
And it came to pass that when the fire died down, the metal of Ahayah was found to be glowing, red as a lump in the coals. And Ahayah pounded upon it. And it came to pass that Lamech obeyed
And Ahayah said.
And Ahayah said, pound upon it. And it came to pass that Lamech obeyed the 3rd time. And he rolled the lump out of the fire, and he took up a stone, and he smote upon it. And when he did this, he saw that it was soft, and that he could shape it. And as Lamech did this, his delight began to grow, because he now would be glorified by his fellows, because he had this fine new possession.
That's 3 times Lamech obeyed Ahayah. Now Lamech is really feeling himself now, huh? He was making something no one else had. This will give him carnal authority. Y'all see that? Verse 50, read.
And he began to be lifted up in his mind before his fellows. And because Lamech thought these things, Ahayah was able to bring up in his mind a vision of a dagger, which was the first human weapon of violence.
Because Ahayah started feeling, because Lamech started feeling puffed up in his own mind, Ahayah could use him to do his own bidding. You see that? Do y'all see that? When one has the spirit of pride operating within them, that person becomes a vessel, a workshop for devils. Start verse 50 over.
And he began to be lifted up in his mind before his fellows. And because Lamech thought these things, Ahayah was able to bring up in his mind a vision of a dagger, which was the first human weapon of violence.
So Ahayah brought Lamech a vision of a dagger, which was the first human weapon of violence. Let's get a preset to that. We're going to go to first Enoch. That's Enoch 1. I believe this is the R.H. Charles version we're about to read, right? We're going to go to chapter 8, verse 1 through 2. Let's read that.
And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them.
And the art of working them. This is what Ahayah is teaching Lamech in the account we're reading right now in the book of Remembrance of Enoch. Let's keep reading this. We're in first Enoch. We'll start verse 1 over. Read.
And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways.
They were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. We're reading this happening to Lamech right now, right? In the book Remembrance of Enoch. Let's go back there. We are in chapter 3. Let's start verse 50 over. Read.
And he began to be lifted up in his mind before his fellows. And because Lamech thought these things, Ahayah was able to bring up in his mind a vision of a dagger, which was the first human weapon of violence. And Ahayah said, make it this way. And Lamech obeyed. And as he could see clearly the shape of the weapon.
That's the fourth time Lamech obeyed. This is how Ahayah taught mankind to make weapons of war. He was putting visions in the wicked brother, Lamech's mind, right? Let's keep reading, verse 51.
And it came to pass that Lamech heated and pounded upon the lump of Ahayah until it resembled the one in his vision. And it was a curved dagger that could be sharpened on both edges. And Ahayah said, put it on a horn for a handle. And Lamech obeyed all things that Ahayah was teaching him. And horns filled to stab or gore. And he placed the horn upon the blade for a handle.
So that right there is the fifth time Lamech obeyed the instruction of Ahayah, right? This time Ahayah told Lamech to put on a horn for a handle. And we are told here that horns feel to stab or to gore. Let's go to the concordance and prove that. We're learning today that the Hebrew language is a language of feelings, right? And so the words were representing the definition of the element it was talking about, right? So we're going to go to H7160. That's H7160 in the concordance. That word is Quran, a primitive root to push or gore, used only as a denominative from H7161 to shoot out horns, figuratively raise, have horns, shine. This shows us, y'all, the Hebrew language or the Aramaic language were based on the original feelings of the words they represented, right? Feelings represent what the particular element was created to do. So that was the fifth time Lamech obeyed Ahayah. Let's keep reading, verse 53.
And Ahayah said, rub upon it to make it very sharp. And Lamech found a piece of sandy stone, and using water he rubbed upon it until it was very sharp. And Lamech took great delight in that which his hands had made, and it became his most prized possession.
That's the 6th time Asael instructed Lamech, and the 6th time Lamech obeyed. Y'all see that? Verse 54.
And Asael spoke to him for the 7th time, and he said, Take it into your bosom. And upon hearing this, Lamech made a pocket, so he could hide the knife beneath his garments over his heart. And in this way, Lamech severed himself with the stone of Asael.
And in this way, Lamech severed himself with the stone of Asael. Remember, y'all, Enoch severed himself with the stone of the Lord. And now we're reading Lamech severing himself with the stone of Asael, the 2 religions of the earth. Y'all see this? Verse 55.
And Lamech said, Now I am a master Karash.
Whoa now. Watch this. Master Karash. That's the same thing Cain said when he learned the sorcery he would use on Adonijah, who is able. Let's prove that. Let's stay in the same chapter. We're in chapter 3 of the book of remembrance of Enoch. But let's go back to verse 34. Let's read that.
And Canaan said, Now I am the master of secret devices, because I know the way to accomplish it. And Canaan performed the murder with hateful chantings and doleful murmurings, and with the wicked desires which he applied to his prayers.
Canaan said, this is Cain, remember? This back when he had got the game from Asael also on how to kill Abel or Adonijah. Canaan said, now he is the master of secret devices. Now we just read Lamech say, now he is the master of Karash. Let's get Karash in the concordance, y'all. We're gonna go to H2796. That's H2796, Karash. And that comes from H2790, a fabricator or any material artificer, carpenter, craftsman, engraver, maker, mason, skillful, smith, worker, workman, such as rots. Okay, and this word Karash comes from H2790, Karash or Karash, right? A primitive root to scratch, i.e. by implication to engrave, plow, hence from the use of tools to fabricate of any material, figuratively to devise in a bad sense, hence from the idea of secrecy, to be silent, to let alone. It said to be silent, to let alone, hence by implication to be deaf, as an accompaniment of dumbness. Altogether cease, conceal, be deaf, devise, ear, graven, imagine, leave off speaking, hold peace, plower, plowman, to be quiet, rest. Watch this one, y'all. Practice secretly, keep silence, be silent, speak not a word, be still, hold tongue, worker. Y'all see that? So master of secret devices and master of Karash is the same thing. The beginning of secret societies. That's what we see in here. The beginning of secret societies. Both Canaan, which is Cain, and Lamech felt like masters of the secrecies, right? Of secret devices. Why does that matter? Well, you will see that this is the inception of secret societies. We're going to see that in our weeks to come in this series, right? And you're also seeing who the gods of these secret societies are. Y'all see that? The god leading Canaan or Cain was Semihaza, and the god leading Lamech was Asael. And Asael works for Semi-Haza. Satan is the god of these secret societies. What god do they find out they are worshiping when they get to the 32nd degree? Let that marinate. Let's keep reading. We are still in chapter 3 of the book of Remembrance of Enoch, but we're going to go back up to verse 54. Let's read.
And Lamech said,
my bad, we're gonna go to 55.
And Lamech said, now I am Master Karash, and thus he invented with his agency, intervened with his agency to enlarge upon the secret devices of Cain.
You see that? To enlarge on the secret devices of Cain. We already read earlier that Lamech was practicing the religion of Cain. Sorcery, right? Verse 56.
And it was with this knife that Lamech raised his hand in violence to shed the blood of his son. And Enoch saw that after Lamech had fashioned the knife, Semi-Haza was filled with delight.
Semi-Haza was filled with delight. With delight. Yeah, it was Asael who taught Lamech to make the knife, but the true leader of this wicked band of fallen angels was Satan. Semi-Haza. Y'all remember in our discussion with the origins of polygamy, Lamech, after he made his Nephilim son, he murked him, he killed him. See, now we learned he killed him with this knife that Asael taught him to make. So what did the devil tell Lamech? Let's read.
And he said to Lamech, now you will be seen to have great honor among men, and all the men of your brethren will envy you for the knife.
He took Lamech to the mountaintop, family, and told him how great he would be. But don't forget, y'all, this is the adversary, the great deceiver. So if y'all tuned into the origins of polygamy video, you know this ain't end well for Lamech. Let's keep reading, verse 57.
But in the end, it was found that Semi-Haza lied for the same name Lamech now means, to be without a brother, because he was rejected and despised for slaying his own son. And all of the mothers of the Nephilim hated him, as did all those of his house.
Oh, man. Hey, look, baby, read that again.
But in the end, it was found that Semi-Haza lied, for the name Lamech now means to be without a brother, because he was rejected and despised for slaying his own son. And all of the mothers of the Nephilim hated him, as did all those of his house.
And another one bites the dust, Another victim to the wiles of the devil, the tricks of Satan. Gots to be more careful, Verse 58, read.
And thus we see that the stones of the earth contended to see who will preside over the lives of men, and Asael would have prevailed had it not been for the flood, but the Lord is faithful. And the stones of Ebedel, who were steadfast toward God, brought the Urim in the midst of a pure fire and pure water. And those among Ebedel who rebelled and fell away, together with 1/3 of the host of heaven, brought a weapon using a filthy fire. And in the end, they were subdued by filthy water.
Semi-Haza and Asael, who are meteorites, were once among Ebedel. Remember, Ebedel is the holy watcher that represents the rocks, but they fell away. Verse 59.
And you will see that in the end, at last, Asael and all of his servants, several hosts, will be subdued by fire, because they brought filthy water. Now it had come to pass that when Enoch beheld that the knife had been held in a pocket over the heart of Lamech, in the same manner as he carried the Urim, Enoch exclaimed to God his astonishment, and he said, how is this so, Lord? And the Lord said that all the religions of the world will issue forth from these two stones, for there is saved two religions only.
The two religions of the world. Start verse 61 over.
And the Lord said that all the religions of the world would issue forth from these two stones, for there is saved two religions only. One is drawn to the light of truth, and the other loves violence and darkness. And all the righteous need to give diligent heed. And the Lord said, look and see with me how all of this began.
Oh, we gonna stop right there. That's a good stopping point. That was part 1 of the 2 religions of the world, the origin of sorcery. Part 2 will be the 2 religions of the world, the power of women, right? That, Father willing, will be fire and edifying to both men and women. But we just learned right there, right? These 2 religions of the world. One is attracted to truth, and one is attracted to violence and all witchcraft and stuff like that, huh? Man. But today, we saw how sorcery was used since the beginning. We learned how Connect, which is Cain, killed his brother Madaniah, which is Abel. He used sorcery. We also saw how the Nephilim was created, not only through polygamy, but also through sorcery. In fact, polygamy was part of the sorcery, huh? It don't matter how many so-called religions there are in the world, there are only truly 2 religions, right? The Lord told Enoch this. One is drawn to the light of truth, and the other loves violence and darkness, right? We are looking back to the ancient times, right? And one might ask, well, if there's only 2 religions, what about all these religions out here? Well, we read, I can't remember where, I think it was in the intro of YASHAYA, right? It talks about the Lord using religion to reach people, right? So just because you might be a Christian or an Israelite or a Muslim or a Buddhist or these things, doesn't actually mean that you're in one of the religions, one of the wicked religions, right? Because there's people in all religions that are truly searching for the truth, right? And one religion of the world is drawn to the light of the truth. So no matter what religion you in, if you truly are in search of the truth, then you are part of the righteous religion of the world, and you keep on searching. And I pray that your path brings you to a path of complete righteousness, right? But in every religion, there's people that are attracted to violence and darkness. And all those religions, right? You know, the KKK were devout Christians, man. They were burning crosses on people's yard right before they hung them, right? You got Muslims, man, that are righteous people. They try their best to be. And then you got Muslims that blow themselves up to kill other people, right? So we see that in the same religion, they can be part of one of the 2 religions of the world that the Father told Enoch about, right? So yeah, man, we looking back at these ancient times. We trying our best to retrace our steps with the goal of seeing where mankind went off, right? Awesome information, y'all. If this is your first time checking out our discussions, go back and check out our playlist. They will pop up on the screen at the end of this live right here. Catch up on what you have missed. Father willing, a week from today, we'll be back on here dealing with part 2. If you have not done so, mash on the like button, subscribe and hit the bell so you can be informed when we drop anything new. If you are interested in getting the books we are reading from, go to RealJudah.com. The links to the books are on there. Man, hold up. As always, we pray this message was for somebody. Y'all share this thing. And remember, we must love the Most High with all our heart, all our mind, and all our might. And we must love our brothers and sisters like the Most High loves them. Hear and see our brothers and sisters like the Most High hears and sees them. And feel for our brothers and sisters the way the Most High feels for them. On that hangs the whole law. All praises to Ahayah. That's all praises to ENOCHpt, he said. Through most of the Lamb, that's YASHAYA, right? Through the ReMEMBRANCE, who gives us all CHAAKAMAWATH. Y'all stay ready so y'all don't have to get ready, and stay focused, family. This is Peezee and ReMEMBRANCE signing off. RealJudah. Let go.
I pray for my sin because I don't wanna stay. Ain't no use in trying to make it complicated. Ay, to repent is required of you. Ain't no use in trying to make it complicated. Repent, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is at hand, yeah. And it's time that we repent for our sin, because I don't wanna stay with. I pray for forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness every day, yeah, for my sin. Seeking forgiveness for all of my sins, repenting for this world come to an end. Seek the kingdom of heaven that lieth within. Forsake the world and the lie it presents. Don't let Satan get up under your skin, because there's a true way, life with freedom in Christ. There's a new day, and he done promised you life. Do and obey, be made anew, regardless what the crew say. Regardless of what they say, just pray, just pray for forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness every day, every day. Gotta seek him while he still may be found. Ain't no use in trying to make it complicated. Repent, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. We keep the law with all our heart, you will call us out of our sin. If we worship you like we supposed to do, you will turn your face again to us. So you already know what you supposed to do, and if you don't, then make note of it. Now that it's noted, repentance is key in order to keep your spirit and mind pure and devoted. Later there'll be no excuse to refute this when it was you who wrote it. And I'm hoping that I can embed this within the head of the nation. The notation mentioned before my previous affirmation. Repent, I did in order to become a part of the kingdom head count. I'll explain later what I'm saying now, so excuse me as I break this down. He changed my life. I was falling. His mercy's not even searchable. What we have is amazing. The Holy Spirit, the worst of you sinners, if you will repent, just imagine the joy that you bring. Ain't no use in trying to make it complicated. Repent, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. You already know what is required of you. Is required of you.
My power ain't a power of confusion. You're living in illusions. I'm giving you solutions and you run. I'm increasing my funds heavily, up and down hills, no Beverly, trying to reach Zion. I come from a checkered past, no masonry, no dope for the club, but YASHAYA, he paid for me. He told me, repent and sin no more. Same thing that he told that whole Stone Super Bruise gon' throw. I'm on a mission to get in the spot. No Hebrew name, so just call me Malak. Ain't much, I ain't seen that, I've been through a lot. We may be black, but no kettles, no packs. Yeah, let that marinate. Game, I'm trying to inseminate. Let the knowledge impregnate. Yeah, hold up, let go. I hoping that y'all follow me. Just a little chronology. I treat Hebrew scripts like the manuscript, and I give it to you, no apologies. I give you truth, and it's me you resent. Your pastor pins you like I'm pimping the pen. Got two choices, keep following man or follow YASHAYA and up and repent.
Ain't no use in trying to make it complicated. Repent, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is forgiveness, forgiveness. Every day, every day. Gotta seek him while he still may be found.